The moment is subtle, yet undeniable. Listen closely to any major American news broadcast today, not to the words, but to the sound. The traditional, booming, aggressively regional voice of authority is disappearing. In its place, a new delivery style, measured, perfectly articulated, and curiously neutral. It's a sound that seems universally trustworthy, free from the polarizing twang of the South or the clipped vowels of the Northeast. But where did this new, unaccented sound come from? The incredible truth is that American media is unwittingly, and increasingly, adopting the rhythm and precision of Filipino English. This isn't a theory. It's a quiet cultural phenomenon driven by cold, hard data and the crisis of American media credibility. For decades, American accents were the global standard. Today, the world of broadcast, corporate communication, and even AI development is subtly conforming to the linguistic gold standard perfected in the Philippines. This is the story of how Filipino clarity became the cure for American confusion. If you are a true, full-blooded Filipino who carries the spirit of Puso in your chest, show your support and subscribe to this channel right now. Join us to celebrate the profound and often secret influence of Filipino culture on the world stage. The journey begins not in a new studio, but with an unexpected villain: polarization. Network executives realized that a heavy regional accent instantly alienated a vast portion of their audience, triggering subconscious biases about politics, education, or class. They desperately needed a voice that sounded like it belonged everywhere and nowhere, a sound perceived as global and objective. They searched the world for a perfect, neutral English model. They found it in a country with the third largest English-speaking population, where the language is taught with a forensic focus on grammar and crisp articulation. The answer wasn't to train American broadcasters to speak less regionally, it was to adopt the standard set by the Filipinos. The initial validation for this shift came from the call center revolution of the early 2000s. American companies outsourced customer service, expecting mere cost savings. What they received was a revelation. Filipino agents consistently received higher customer satisfaction scores than their domestic counterparts. The reason was twofold: linguistic clarity and cultural warmth. Filipino English is inherently non-aggressive. It utilizes a measured, even-paced rhythm with clean, precise articulation of consonants and vowels. Unlike fast-paced American speech, which often swallows T's or shifts vowel sounds, the Filipino style prioritizes perfect comprehension. This clarity ensures that whether the listener is in Boston, Berlin, or Beijing, the message is received without ambiguity. The cultural values of pakikisama, getting along, and respect are embedded in the vocal delivery, ensuring that even under pressure, the voice is soothing and empathetic. News data analysts realized this sound achieved something crucial: tonal objectivity. When a Filipino-trained voice delivered complex or serious news, it sounded inherently less aggressive and less biased than a traditional regional American voice. The voice itself fostered trust. It sounded like a friend trying to clarify, not a commentator trying to persuade. American media producers, desperate to combat audience distrust, didn't need their anchors to become Filipino. They needed their anchors to adopt the Filipino model of communication: authority without aggression, and clarity above all else. They began to subtly push domestic talent toward this non-regional, highly precise articulation style. This subtle shift accelerated in the world of artificial intelligence. AI companies, rushing to develop virtual assistants, navigation systems, and synthetic news readers, encountered the same problem. Training AI on hyper-regional American dialects created confusing, unstable voice models. The solution: train the AI on the Filipino phonetic structure. The precision, consistency, and predictable intonation of Filipino English offered the perfect, stable middle ground, a consistent middle accent that bridges Western and Asian phonetic structures. The very digital voices that guide and inform billions, from weather reports to navigation prompts, are built upon a model rooted in the Philippines. The AI voice that speaks to the world is secretly Filipino-trained. The influence then flowed back into the human broadcast industry. Media executives, seeing the success of this universal AI voice, actively sought human anchors and voiceover artists who naturally possessed or could mimic this clean, non-regional style. News anchors who had to retrain often had to unlearn years of American regionalism and adopt the precise, almost academic style that Filipinos had mastered since the Tomasite era. This style places immense value on the fundamentals, precise consonants, clean vowels, and consistent tempo. These were the exact qualities Filipino education systems prioritized. So, the reason Americans sound more Filipino is because they are being trained to emulate a standard that prioritizes international clarity, a standard perfected by Filipinos for use in a globalized economy.
Shift is a profound act of cultural adaptation. For decades, the Philippines was a recipient of cultural influence, adapting its language to fit the American model. Now, the tables have turned. The dominant American media industry is adapting to a Filipino standard of vocal delivery in a stunning reversal of soft power. This trend is not limited to news. Hollywood dialogue coaches, aiming for maximum international market appeal, often train actors to soften their regionalism into what is sometimes called global cinematic English. This style, with its focus on precise, non-aggressive articulation, directly mirrors the qualities of Filipino English. By seeking a universally comprehensible sound, the film industry is indirectly validating the Filipino accent as the most effective global sound. The economic drivers are the final undeniable proof. In industries where millions of dollars ride on clear communication like IT, finance, and engineering, the Filipino standard is simply the most reliable. Clarity is currency, and the Filipino professional has the clearest communication model. This economic reality has forced the media industry to change its cultural biases. They learned that the most effective form of communication is not the loudest, but the clearest, kindest, and most universally comprehensible. The ultimate achievement here is the transformation of a colonized language into a cultural weapon. Filipino scholars and educators took the English language, refined it, perfected its utility, and gave it back to the world as an indispensable tool for global collaboration.
The result is a major source of national pride. For years, many Filipinos felt pressure to minimize their natural accent, aiming for a pure American or British sound. The growing demand for and appreciation of their natural tone is a massive victory for cultural self-respect. It validates the unique, refined form of English developed in the islands, proving that their voice is not merely acceptable. It is in many critical contexts superior for global communication. This realization trickles down into every Filipino household and classroom, reinforcing the value of their education system and their dedication to language proficiency. It transforms a perceived weakness and non-native accent into an undeniable strength and an economic asset. So, the next time you turn on the news and hear a calm, measured, perfectly articulated anchor, remember the story. You are not just listening to an American broadcaster. You are hearing the echo of the Filipino gold standard, a style that defeated regional bias, conquered digital communication, and proved that the greatest victories in global influence are won not through political might, but through the simple, consistent power of clarity and puso. The world had to adjust its expectations to listen to a voice that simply speaks better. The real reason Americans sound more Filipino on the news is because the Filipino voice is the sound of the future. And the future is now. Thanks for watching, and if you are Philippine, you can subscribe to this channel to show your support.